Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's pod session. The format of this, if just in case it's your first one, is we spend the first 45, 50 minutes on ask and learn. And then the last 10, 15 minutes, I'd like to spend in giving. Like, what can we give back to the amazing founders in this network? So before we start, feel free to share a little bit about what you are working on, your LinkedIn profile, so that other pioneer founders can connect with you offline. And let's then dive in from there on. So last month, when we had our pod session for fundraising or fundraisers, our topic, if you recall, was exploring different avenues to raise capital. This time, what we want to focus on is doubling down on what metrics are important for a successful raise. So, this really means understanding what investors truly care about and what founders need to know so that you can plan your raise with the investor expectations in mind. So let me start with the kickoff question and then we will go into an ask and learn format. So the kickoff question for this group is for those of you who have successfully raised, what are the top 2 to 3 things or parameters or metrics that made the biggest difference?
I'm happy to start here. This is Monica. I raised a pre-seed and I raised a seed round about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago now. So I will say things have changed, obviously in the marketplace. I will say at that stage, what I noticed was the most important thing was actually our team and the story. That was probably the most compelling part because when you're really early stage, you don't have a ton of metrics. That said, in this environment, what I am hearing and seeing is the traction that you have from an ARR standpoint, as well as ACV standpoint, as well as your pipeline and what stages of pipeline your deals are in.
The good point, Monica. I'm hearing the same thing. What is everyone else? Because many of you are raising capital. What are you hearing right now?
I'll jump in here. Hi, everybody. So I've raised funds in a couple different industries, nonprofit and for-profit. I'm currently raising right now, a small raise. Yeah, I definitely agree are you making money? Do you know how to make money? Um, a lot of people are asking me right now about the market and what's happening. Is it sustainable? Even if you have good traction and metrics, what does the future look like? And then how are they going to make money in return? Um, and then, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of what the questions I'm getting right now, but that's mainly it.
Um, I'll say it depends on who you're talking to, at least from the conversations I've been having. VCs definitely have been asking a lot of the same things that Monica and Mai shared, where, even if you have all the things, it just seems like, well, is this a flash in the pan or is there more coming? What's your strategy? All that kind of stuff. Whereas with angels, there's depending on the kind of angel, right? There's some angels are, pretty professionalized at this point and maybe are approaching the market more like a family office or something. But most angels seem to really care about the story. But for them, how, again, my experience, how they're trying to de-risk is they're like, well, who else is investing? What all of that kind of stuff. Like, are they joining a deal that has a lot of interest? That seems to be some of the conversations I've been having. And of course, it depends on how we're connected to the angel as well. So a little bit of a different perspective there.
That's a great point. Anyone else wants to add to what you guys are hearing?
Yeah, for example, from my own experience, and I'm trying like to raise funds for already 11 months. And I've been talking to VC and I've been talking to angels. And so far, well, when coming to the VCs, all of them they ask, so how much money, like what's the revenue? Have you made any revenue yet? And of course, when you are raising pre-seed as me, you don't have like lots of revenue. And for most of them, well, it's not enough because somehow like they accept like I don't know to have, I guess, at least 1 million in your account from the first year, which is kind of impossible. I don't know any other examples. Um, but like with angels, most of the times is about, well, in my case and in my story, they all ask about like technology, what kind of technology, using database, data security, and all of this technical stuff. And also the questions. Um, I've been asked also like about the team because they also want to have someone experienced in the team. Like, has anyone in your team like built a company before? Does any this person have any experience with fundraising? What's his like experience or something like this? So yeah, that's my experience.
Thanks, Livia. I know you've been having a lot of investor conversations, so that's good context. Um, so, given that sort of as a foundation, I'd love to open it up for ask and learn. So, what are some of the challenges? Think back to your fundraising experiences, and I'm sure all of it's a lot of, ups and downs, more downs than ups. What are some of the things you are sort of navigating, and what would you like to ask this group as you're doubling down?
Well, I guess like I have just one question because I'm raising Proceed. So I know you, Monica, you mentioned that you raise Proceed as well, and for the Proceed, the mostly it's important like the how you tell the story. And so my question is, how do you make the story to look that good, or how do you sell the story for angels, investors, or VC to believe?
Is that directed to me?
Yeah.
If it is, I would say the biggest thing is that they have to believe that this is a burning problem and that you or your co-founders are one of the most capable people to solve it, and that the TAM, SAM, and SOM associated with it is large enough that it is compelling for them.
Hmm.
So like,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
like the problem just has to be a like the problem has to be like either really simple, really clear, or like very obvious. And then you have to somehow stand out. You and your team have to stand out as like, we are the best people to build this. Other people can't do it. And then there's a huge market out here for this. Like, we're gonna crush it.
Hmm. Yeah, thank you. It's insightful. Thank you so much.
Who wants to go next? Think of the sort of, the feedback you're getting from the investors as you're looking to raise your next round, and what you are struggling with, or the feedback you keep hearing about traction, and how you're navigating it. And I think as a group we can give you the benefit of, what you should perhaps be thinking or doing differently.
I'll say like for traction, that's kind of where my brain has been a lot of because of the feedback we've been getting and how to position that being pre-seed. And maybe the thought I keep having really is just pre-seed today is not what it was, and it just seems to keep moving the needle. So I'm basically trying to understand because I think it's fair to say it's traction, it's, market size, the story, all of this stuff. And at the same time, it seems like if someone has conviction this is going to succeed, that's really what matters. What goes into making them get to that point can differ depending on who you're talking to. So I think some company might have 1 million in ARR and they still won't invest because they're like, oh, they'll find a reason because they aren't fully convinced that this is something that they're going to make money off of. And then someone else will show up with, a napkin idea and they're like, here's $50 million or whatever. So I'm starting to wonder about how like it's more art than science, it seems, even though a lot of times it seems to be presented as if, there's a process you can follow and you will succeed. I'm no longer convinced of that, but I'd love to be corrected and, maybe also how to talk about traction as well. If anyone has thoughts on that.
Well, how are you talking about traction today?
We have a couple of LOIs. We launched in September. We got a couple of angel checks in April, and we're closing our first revenue by the end of the year with two of the customers in the LOI process.
And they're pushing back on that?
Not pushing back, but more like, oh, that's really nice. So what? Then they ghost me. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to understand, what else to say or how else to present it. And, maybe, yeah, anyway.
Marie, couple questions or thoughts. Are you presenting it in numbers, you know, in dollar amounts and numbers? I know this may sound crazy, but it has to a little bit go with what Monica just said, is like putting like that energy behind it to say like we're doing, like we're doing this, it's happening, we're the best at this, we have the answer. You know what I mean? Like I know that sounds crazy, but I just was reflecting on like what Sudeshna just said too. But every time that I've raised, I would say, to answer Sudeshna's original question, I would say 75% of it is that they're investing in me. Right. And so, like, how are you showing up as a leader? How are you really getting them excited? What else? What are you passionate about? What's happening next? What have you thought about? What have you learned? Because it's also an education process to them, too.
That's a fair point. Yeah. Yeah.
The other question I have is, are you talking to VCs that have a strong thesis that's aligned with what you're building?
I've been trying to. So we're health tech. I've pretty much only been talking to health tech people. We are neuro, and that seems to be not maybe, I'm trying to now dig deeper into finding VCs specifically focused on brain health. But yeah.
Hi, Mary. This is Anu here. I think we spoke about your product. I would love to, I don't have your deck yet, or do I have? I don't know.
I
If
don't
you can
think
send me a small intro email, like a blurb about your product and what you're looking for, I might be able to introduce you to few VCs who are investing in the, like neuro and health tech side.
well, thank you. I will do that, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anu. Anu runs her own venture studio. She's also a member of Pioneer, so she has a good network of VCs. But that's a good point. I think, Monica, you mentioned is like, is it investor aligned? Even within health tech space, Marie, um, there is health tech is vast. To your point, your neuroscience. So, how do you sort of find the right investor, basically?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Like trying to narrow within that vast bubble for sure. Mai, did you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, like, who is your competitors invested by?
it's a range.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a range for sure. And we've tried to obviously there's also potential like not being conflicted with some of them as well. But yeah, I will do further digging into some of that as well. Thank you.
Or sometimes like, and I'm not trying to add more to your plate or anything, but like sometimes looking outside of the box about who is actually touching your work that may not be like so straight line focused on neuro, health, but are there other touch points of possible investors?
Okay. Can I ask you a question, Mai? When you said, who are your competitors invested by? Do you mean these are the investors we should stay away from? Or are these the investors that we can dig more into? Because we've looked at all of the investors of our competitors, and our conclusion is let's stay away from them.
Yeah, I didn't mean go after that. I mean, that's you guys know your industry, I meant to get ideas from. Like, to look at who are they investing in. They may be tied to somebody else. Who are they connected with? What are they investing in? It just might give you more ideas on new avenues. That's a decision you guys would have to make if you go after them or not.
Okay, I didn't know if you meant to steer this one way or the other. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
That brings me to the question, like, how did you get your first investor? I think there is something there. Is there some sort of a pattern or process, or is mostly serendipity? For those of you who have raised capital, what worked?
So I would say, I mean, maybe from a different perspective, as I have not raised for like, so I believe, like your first raise is coming from the people who trust you, your
Mhm.
friends, because I always write a check to the people I know and believe in. So, and I've seen, like, because if I know a person's a long time, I've seen how, hardworking they are, what they have achieved in other different direction. We know, like, their hustle and all. So it will always come from the people you know, your colleagues, your friends. And believe me, like, most of the time it works because I always do support my friends and family.
That's a great point, Anu. But how do you, so for those of raised the angel round and looking to raise pre-seed, or in some cases like Monica, going from seed to Series A, how does that evolve? Like, you've been an investor for the most part of your life. So what would you say is the evolution in the kind of things as an investor you look for as the round evolves as well?
Are you asking me, Sudeshna?
Yeah, I'm asking you, Anu. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, like when you are in a later stage, it's always your growth, right? I mean, pre-seed to like initial stage is the only stage where you look for founder fit, you look for, like market, and after that, it's all about growth, right? And because pre-seed to seed to CD, say these are all growth stage, and like you invest based on the numbers, the traction.
And I would just add, you have to ask. And I agree with Anu. I was going to make that point too. And something that's just involved with my fundraising is I was spinning my wheels, you know, I hate Sudarshan, I don't listen to this, but like really listening to everybody's suggestion and like really spending my time, digging into every single possible, suggestion. But instead, like it's so much easier. I just told Sudarshan I just raised 50,000 today. I just literally asked somebody who's been watching me. And trust me, I've gotten a lot of no's, from friends and family too. Like, my best friend, she said she doesn't want to mix business with pleasure because of her past hurts, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm fully answering your question, Sudeshna, but you got to ask. Like I just asked my other friend the other day, and if they say no, they say no. But they're going to be more likely to a news point to take the risk on you.
So moving from the friend side to someone you don't know, say somebody, a VC that is totally cold, because I'm assuming a lot of you are getting introduced to VCs or cold calling VCs. How's that working out? For those of you, and you've been here a lot longer. So are there any pathways, and same thing, Monica, any pathways here on what you've learned from your experience that you can share with this group?
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask because I'm kind of burnt out from VCs with all due respect. I mean, like with Boss Me, and I did literally 150, I think, plus pitches. Um, and I have to keep in mind too, it was a very new concept of what I was pitching. It was something very different. And I've kind of like uh turned away from VCs just because now, and I was talking to Sudesh about this with my current business. What I've learned from it is how overcomplicated we make things, especially in fundraising. Um, and so, if looking back, woo, you don't have to do every single pitch. You know, I was pulled in a lot of directions with Boss Me, and so a lot of people were curious, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything, honestly, what I've learned. But you know, going back to who's advocating for you, who's on your side, who has your back, like really developing those relationships, I think to me, I've learned are way more efficient with time. And also just, you know, being human as a founder, like really being honest, you know, with what's going on, what are your hurdles, like, you know, it took me several years to really learn that. Again, I've raised in a lot of different pools and tactics and ways. Um, and you know, in the nonprofit, it's you know, it's very different kind of fundraising. But yeah, just being, but also showing in that conversation, not being so like, you know, I don't really like pitches that are like just straight numbers and no personality and vulnerability, but like in that conversation, you're having a conversation with them because you're listening to them, you're learning from them, but it's like it's a almost like a conversation mixed with like a negotiation. I just did that today. It takes time to really practice that. I think that would also be powerful, Sudeshna, like literally doing live like conversation pitches. I think that's a great skill to learn. It takes a long time.
Oh, I
And
love.
also, I would add, like, we're all human. First impression really matters, you know,
Yeah.
like, and also, like, who is introducing you, right? Try to get the best person, you know, like the person knows that VC or whoever you want something to get from knows that person really well, because that really matters.
Yeah. And learning to say, and this is something I had to learn, is learning to say no. People ask me to pitch all the time, and I've now I just say no all the time. I'm sorry, but I do.
I think you're discerning enough now. In the beginning, you say yes to everything and sort of get burnt out, but you learn
You
where
have
it's
to
your
do that.
time well spent and where it isn't, and how aligned you are on thesis of the investor. So that's good, Mai. That's a great point.
Yeah, it does really matter who you get in bed with, too. That's
Mhm.
really a blessing in disguise for the long run that I learned as well.
Um, I got really, at least earlier on, I have different questions about fundraising now, but one of the things that I did that did work out for me pretty well is I looked at companies that would invest in us, like either companies that would buy us or had like a very not a competitor, but like we were very complementary to one another, or they would buy us. And I looked at who invested in them, and then I went and I got introductions to those. And two of my seed round investors came from that strategy. So, like, find those that swim in the same pond, but aren't with one of your competitors. That I think was really compelling. Um, I always tried to have one of my investors do a warm intro, and if they didn't know someone, they would find someone who knew someone. That was pretty great. I also created different versions of my pitch deck depending on who was looking at it to it's a lot of work and it was really not fun, but it did work at the end of the day. I also made a couple of friends in the VC space that I knew I wasn't pitching, and I just had them be like brutally honest with me about the deck, right? Like, is it clear? Is it not clear? Because we live in this work that we do day in and day out, and oftentimes we might think something makes sense when it doesn't. So that I found really helped too. Um, but I think like Marie, you mentioned a point where like none of the like metrics match anymore. Like pre-seed isn't pre-seed. Seed is definitely not seed. Like we're going to go out to fundraise next year for our seed two, and I don't even know what that means. I don't know if most folks know what that means, but I don't even know what the appetite is for something like that because with the new Series A metrics, we haven't hit those yet. So that this part I haven't quite. So I haven't figured out that part yet. If anyone has been successful in the last 6 to 8 months, I think that, or probably 6 months, that would be something I'd be really curious in because it's a different space now.
Any thoughts on that, Anu? Because you've seen this space up close, on Monica's question.
Uh, I'm really sorry, actually. Honestly, I did not listen to that. I was emailing, so if you can just.
Oh yeah, the major question was that the metrics have just really changed in the last 2 years. And so pre-seed is more like a seed, seed is more like a Series A from what it was before, but don't really know what cracks the code nowadays if someone is looking for like a seed two, right? So there's one thing about a pre-seed, there's one thing about a seed one, but then a seed two, just trying to figure out that space as well.
This is a very interesting, question because this is something which is not defined and not known to anyone. I have seen, a pre-seed ideally is something which is, you are still building your product, you have, certain interest and pre-seed is more can be pre-revenue, pre-product, like a napkin idea and all. But right now it is not like that. It's more like people need a lot of traction for pre-seed. You need to have a product, you need to have customers, you have to like, I mean, founders we have supported in our venture studio, they'll come, like the investors are like, they will say that they support pre-seed, but they need everything. Oh, do you have 1 million ARR? Oh, okay. Are you looking for pre-seed or seed? So it's not defined. And ideally, it should not be like that. Pre-seed is, like it's a napkin, you just bet on the people, on the person who are building this. And seed is mostly, of course, you have certain traction and at least one traction is like you have enough customers, you have revenue this much of like ARR whatever, like MRR. So yeah, and Series A and all those are different, or like growth stage. So you need to hit certain metrics for that. But pre-seed and seed is still it's not defined.
Yeah, that puts you in sort of a interesting space, Monica, because depending on who you speak to, which investor, they might have different expectations of what seeds two looks like, or what they expect of you in the next round.
Mhm.
I wonder, as a founder, can we ground it, um, or position ourselves in the best light to raise the capital? Because, as you said, I know seed or in the later any stage, all the stages, especially seed, series A, seed stage especially, has not been defined. So, but then I'm assuming investors already have some sort of a definition in their mind on what they expect out of founders, which varies investor to investor. So, what can we do to position ourselves in the best light?
Yeah, one more thing in that, for say when someone like a starting from the scratch, you raise your pre-seed, and till your seed round, you have, building a certain product, I mean, on the MVP, supporting a few handful of customers versus scaling it up is a, like different ball game. So there comes, like, are you able to scale the product? Or, like, so the money you are raising for seed, I mean, seed stage, later stage, or CDC, what is the scale, right? You have the right team, you have the right hire, you have the right, customers. Is customers vouching for you? Are they, like, are you hitting certain milestones? And that is when, in that growth stage, if you can, like, position yourself, like, as a team who can take it further, then you go beyond the series A, series B, and all you raise. Otherwise, you might, like, find a way to get out of it. Or, like, many founders I have seen, uh, like, they can only, like, go certain farther, like till series A, and then they try to exit and build again from the scratch.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm seeing that too. A lot of exits at Series A stage because I think the expectations are sky high and it becomes a team play, and you really have to meet those scaling. Uh,
Yeah, and also I would say as a founder, you should definitely have an exit plan. And investors love it. Like, for example, if like, I want to, like, I want to go IPO, I want to exit, that's okay to have an exit, like, maybe I don't want to go IPO. I want to have an exit at certain point, because you don't want to, linger it for a long and just to see other startup coming and, like, innovate in that particular space and disrupt in that what you are doing.
that's a great point. I know.
I'm actually curious about exits and what is a reasonable exit, right? Like, especially if people are trying to 10x or more their initial investment for them to find that worth investing. If you say, like, everyone's goals are different in terms of, are you trying to run a business that, sustains over time and you pay back your stakeholders or shareholders, or IPO, or do a strategic sale? I'm curious if there's one, or maybe it's all of the above, as long as the math works out, that people are looking for on the VC investor side.
Yeah, like, I mean, it all depends actually. Like, I mean, it's not so generic. But of course, you have to have in mind, like, why someone will exit. Like, are they going to acquire some proprietary data? Or, like, you have certain models and agents or certain innovations. Of course, can be your customer. And like, they are targeting a certain competitor, and you solve that particular problem. So yeah, 10x you mentioned, 5 to 15, 20x is a good range. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where I think, Marie, what Monica says comes in. Like, have a even an exit strategy. Think clearly through what that investor cares about. And then it could be, to Anu's point, your data, the proprietary data. It could be your some other IP that you have, and then double down on an exit strategy that will really speak to this investor and perhaps, you know, be appealing because they could see I can exit fast and it could support my some other investments. You don't know, like synergies and stuff can come into play.
Yeah, usually, like, what the valuation range, you have, it all depends on your EBITDA and gross profit and all as well, the numbers. So you keep on, I mean, I would say in the best ways, like, I mean, you are prepared for every circumstances. You're building the product at the same time, you are hitting on goal. Okay, I know that, like, I have indulge myself 3 years. What should be, like my goal? If I am not able to scale it further, I want to have certain, like a exit for it. And hitting up those, personal or like team-based numbers, like mm, your EBITDA, your profit, your revenue, like often it is 3 to 4 times. So yeah.
Great point, Anu.
And also like start keep in mind internally, like all those PE farms, or like who you are building for, maybe like who is the right um, uh, company to exit to as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's yeah, actually helpful because like I can do the math and be like, this is, a reasonable exit target around that. Thank you. I had a thought about Monica's question. It's something someone shared with me, and I'm curious if other people have heard this, but part of is like at seed, part of the equation, if you will, and even at pre-seed, apparently, this is a person at a VC told me this, that they're thinking about who's going to invest in your next round. And like, if they can't really see that, it can often prevent people from investing now because, they sometimes maybe they can or can't like follow on later on. And so for them, talking of exits, like they're thinking about how will you grow quickly enough so that when you're ready to raise your next round, you're able to attract that next stage of investor? And like that's how they make their decisions. And I don't know if that's universal, but this person said this to me and I was like, well, that's interesting. I don't really know how to operationalize that necessarily, but like thinking about the milestone you're trying to get to with this funding to make yourself investable for the next round of funding. And like, is that compelling enough? So not just for them as the investor now, but for the next round of investment in 2, 3, however many years you're saying this is, we need this money for this long. And when we get to this point, are you saying you would have reached the metrics that the next level of funding would find compelling?
I really like that perspective. Monica, do you have any thoughts? I know you're navigating a few things right now.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting take to say, who would be the right investors to come in next time. That's definitely something I haven't thought about. I haven't thought about that. Um, because it is like a natural point where usually at some people do seed and series A, but it's really like who are going to be the growth investors that would come in. And the only thing that I would say around that is I would look at again companies that not are necessarily competitors, but maybe that swim in the same pond to again see who are their seed investors versus their series A, B, C to get a sense of who likely people tap into. Though I will say a couple of the folks that I spoke to 2 years ago have completely changed their thesis, or have stopped focusing on like health tech, for example, and restarted something else. So that makes it hard too. A lot of this is not, 100% as is, if that makes sense.
It does. And I would say it's even beyond the specific investors, more around like you're raising a seed plus now to give you some amount of runway to get to a certain milestone. Is that milestone going to make you investable by seed investors? Or, sorry, by Series A investors in terms of the metrics? And like, this is what this person told me. It's like, that's what they're looking at, right? Like, okay, I give you money for 18 months or 2 years. How much money are you going to make? Or what traction will that get you to that would make the seed level investors be like, this is it's right sized enough that now I'm interested in investing in this.
I just love that perspective, Marie, in the sense that while you are defining what success looks like, you're defining with the next round in mind. So, as a pre seed, if you're raising for seed, you want to make sure that you are working towards metrics that will enable the next round of funding. And what does success look like for a pre-seed? For a pre-seeder, what does success look like as Series A? So such that you aim towards that, and put yourself in a good place with the investment you have now, so that you can raise the next round. Um, it's a very it's a long-term view, and perhaps it brings a new level of diligence in your sort of in your process of defining your success metrics, and therefore how much capital you need to raise. Okay, I'll again open it up. What other questions does this group have? Any question is a good question, guys, even if it's 101 question.
I think for me, I my issue is that I'm multidimensional, meaning that, I still have Boss Me In, working on getting two co-founders there. So that's one message. I have my personal brand, doing public speaking there. And then I have the business I'm raising money on, which is live streaming completely different women's contemporary clothing. And so my usual way is just like go, go, go. And like, I can put it all over social media, my raise and all this kind of stuff. And it tends to work. But right now, I can't put my raise. I mean, I shouldn't say I can't. I don't feel comfortable putting my raise on social media because people are not generally used to someone having multiple businesses and multi-dimensional industries and different things going on. So I think that's just, I'm kind of blabbing right now, but that's kind of my hurdle. And it goes even deeper with investors. I have certain people that are interested only in Boss Me, and I have certain people interested in EYJ, certain people interested in Clee deals. And so these are all different styles and messaging and people. And so it's just tricky for me. And so I don't know if anybody has experience with like multidimensional businesses at all, and raising capital, but I'm all ears.
Livia, do you want to speak because you have two different businesses?
Um, well, to be honest, if you can just repeat the question. Sorry, I was just I got an email, so I got a little bit distracted.
How do you navigate fundraising when you have multiple businesses?
Mm. Uh, I don't know. That's a good one, actually. Um, so to be honest, at the moment, I have so many ideas, but at the same time, I'm running like an ed tech platform, at the same time building an HR AI onboarding platform, which is kind of like the ed tech is built, is on the market. But this kind of like AI stuff is like I feel like I start from the beginning, and now like I feel like there is we still not there yet to ask for them for the money from investors, and it's like quite I'm quite stuck, like what should I do, because I see so much potential in like the second one, the AI HR onboarding, rather than the ed tech, based on like the feedback from investors, based on everything that I could gather throughout the year. And so far, like I have troubles like by deciding where exactly should I put my efforts in, because like sometimes I meet investors and I meet people who say, okay, like this AI onboarding is like so amazing, that's gonna solve like a lot of problems. But at the same time, like investors usually say, well, ed tech is not the exactly space that we want to invest, because like um, it's not a lot of customers. But at the same time, sometimes I get like from some investors, they say, well, AI onboarding platform is crap. So I would rather go for edtech. So like this is where the confusions come from. And I used to be drained like so much, but like in my case, I don't know, I had to decide, like based on my feelings, how I feel and where exactly do I see the potential. Should I be led by someone's opinions or someone's feedback by what to do with the business, or should just like I follow my heart and myself, like what exactly should I do? Because I basically cannot be in the both places. And so now I'm focused on building this AI onboarding system, and I'm trying to sell the ed tech one because I don't know, it's I think I overcame this platform and this business. So most probably I don't have the right answer because I'm struggling to do both. Maybe not because of the time or energies, because I see more potential in there, and I would rather invest all of my energy just like in the second platform and second business. So yeah.
Well, if we were a man, I'm just kidding.
You'd raise our potential, right, Mai? But I
Mhm.
think those are some important decisions to make when you have multiple ventures, and it's a lot. It's a huge time suck when you have to now raise capital for each of them separately and with totally different investor bases. So I think the question that Livia is sort of wrangling with, as she said, is should I divest of one business so I can focus on the one that I see very high potential. So that's one path. Another path is, of course, being more creative in raising capital as you are doing, my.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's why that's why I'm bringing other leaders on. And I agree with you, Olivia. Like, I've had to really scale back because I was doing way too much and just really seeing like Cledeos as the moneymaker. And I need to put my energy there because honestly, money from that helps Boss Man and EYEJ. So I agree with you with that. I think it's more of a messaging thing. And I think also just a mind frame. I think it's shifting, thankfully, thanks to Gen Z, that you can do multiple things at once. But I have for the most part found that investors do not like to see like you're doing multiple things. There's
Yeah,
judgment there.
exactly.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you can't do it. It's not sustainable. I'm like, well, I've done it.
Oh
So,
yeah, and also like another, I guess, well, it was one investor who also told me like, how are you gonna be like good in both places? How are you gonna manage like all of this? Can you just like build and scale like both at the same time? Can you be like in the same like in different meetings at the same time? And like how are you gonna do this? And this one really made me questionable. I mean, there are people, and I know that if I put like so much energy and like so much on me, I can do both, of course. Worth it. I don't know. So that's the question
and
for me.
the answer for me is that's why I need capital because I need to pay other leadership. Oh, it's not that complicated.
If only
Oh,
investors saw it that way,
Yeah.
the right way. Fine.
I agree with you.
Okay, any last questions before we get to the last portion of this pod session? Any other burning questions? Okay.
Well, I have one. Um, So we were talking about how the fundraising shifted, like for example, now pre-seed, it's not actually pre-seed, but like it's seed and so on. And pre-seed is like meant to be when you don't have like anything then rather than an idea. And seed when you have like already like a product, you already have like a bigger team or like you're scaled or something. So, in my question is, I don't know how to build a product and how to validate that product, how to build traction without funds or without like money, because when you go to pre-seed, you go to angel investors. Yes, they want to see the product, which costs like lots of money. If you're like doing tech or any other industry, it costs like a lot of money to build a product. And like to build the traction, it also can be expensive sometimes. So how you do that without like any funding, and then I don't know, like that's my question before you get the funds. So basically, when you will get the funds, you already have the product, you will already have validation, you already have the traction, LOIs, and so on. But my question is how you build everything before that.
Bootstrapping, volunteers.
And design partnerships if
You
you
build
can.
another company to pay the other company.
I was going to say design partnerships.
Co-founders.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was also like bootstrapping, and so I've had like my own ways to like to do things, and I just wanted to know like how other people manage to build these things, because like this is a really challenging one, and so yeah, and I was like called a bad person for doing what I did, basically for building my product, which where I was partnershiping with universities. To get like interns to do like internships and like to help me to build my product, and I was just like reflecting on this thought, and I was like I wanted to see like how other people actually build they products and like what tools they use basically. And also like if talking about the co-founders is actually very hard to find one, to be honest. It took me some time, because usually you came with an idea, and then if you're not a technical person, you need to find one, and there are not a lot of people who will be willing to work only on equity till you scale. So that's the trick on here.
I think there are a lot of people out there that are, but I think it comes down to a personality match and leadership style. And to your point, Livia, it is very complicated.
There are
Yeah,
also people who have the skills, but they don't have any idea either. And they will love for you to feed them an idea.
It's
But
finding.
they need to be jumping on board with what you have in mind, and that vision needs to align, which is not so easy.
And it's hard because you have to like build the relationship while you're building the company,
Yeah.
which makes it
yeah.
complicated.
Yep. I've also bartered the skills with other people. I've done their financial modeling. People have done graphic design for me. I think that's also kind of common. It has to be, somewhat equivalent in terms of duration and lift.
Yeah, I'm
That's
hearing
really
this a lot
clever,
about
Echo.
you.
Sorry.
Huh? What'd you say?
I said that's really clever. I didn't hear what Stashna said.
I'm saying hearing this a lot, Mary, bartering skills. It's much more common than you think.
Hmm.
So definitely consider bartering in kind, as Echo said. It should be in kind, but similar sort of lift, or else, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we have 4 minutes left. I want to spend a little bit of time on give. I think all of you already have gave us so much, like so much advice, and anything else that you would love to give back to this group, as everyone is sort of in the same journey together, raising capital. It could be brain trust. It could be whatever you can.
I mean, I'm connected in a lot of different areas and industries. Like if there's any connection on my LinkedIn, I'm happy to help connect people. I love bridging people together. And my background, I don't know if this is helpful or not, but my background is actually in social impact and tech. So I do have a lot of experience in a lot of different industries, tech, nonprofit, for profit. So if I can help, I'm happy to help.
That same one goes for me. I'll also offer if others are interested. Sounds like some of us are either already in the process of fundraising or will be fundraising. If we wanted to put together a little group to do our pitches with each other to get feedback and things like that, I think that I would love to do that with someone if someone wanted to do that. Um, and then if there's any friendly VCs that would want to join that too, that would be great just to get a sense of, how they would want to see things structured and things like that would always be helpful.
That's a
But I'm
great
happy.
idea, Monica. Let me structure something for that particular one.
Yeah, I always like pitch feedback too. I think, especially people who didn't know anything about me, I appreciate their kind of like blank slate perspective on what I have to tell them. And I sometimes struggle with the clarity of messaging. I don't want to dig too deep in the first conversation, but I tend to do that. So, um, yeah, and any chance to pitch to, I guess, people who don't know me will be appreciated too.
I'll say I love the pitch idea, so happy to do that. Also, yeah, LinkedIn, happy to do that as well. I don't know how folks are fundraising, but I've been getting a lot of investor lists from a bunch of different places, and I'm happy to share that if that's useful. And it includes, some of them include both angels and VC type, and I think a few family offices as well. I haven't myself finished going through them, but at this point, there's so many, which 6 months ago I had none. So, I also know that's like a thing with access. I'm happy to share that as well if it's useful.
That would be great. You can
Okay.
never have too many of those, to be honest.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Agreed.
Marie.
Of course.
Creating a knowledge bank, guys. So feel free to send me. I can make it available to all of you guys. So anything that any Pioneer member sends, I'll put it on this knowledge bank.
Amazing. Will
How
do.
did you do the banner, Livia? Is that something that LinkedIn just has, or did you do it yourself? I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile where
Uh,
it says fundraising around your profile
oh,
picture.
oh, you're asking me.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. So no, LinkedIn do not have this kind of like feature because initially I was looking like at other founders like they're like this thing like fundraising and I was like asking ChatGPT how can I find it because I cannot. And actually there's like um I, I put the picture in Google and just like ask Google like do the image and the fundraising stuff for you and you just like upload the Joel and the image and upload to the LinkedIn.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, that's an incredible
I don't
way.
know how yeah, but, like to be honest, it was like really helpful for quite a while because in this case um I got like a few investors who reached out and I um read like your bio and everything. So can you share the pitch deck and everything? So this banner was really helpful to be honest.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's attracting investors because of that fundraising hashtag. So something to consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So I know we're almost on time. This is the link. Feel free to access this. You'll get to see all the other um, spot sessions I'm hosting. I mean, at times I invite you, at times I don't. Maybe I miss a few of you. So feel free to download whichever meeting or pod session it's most relevant to you. I'll keep adding more every month. And in terms of resources, feel free to send it to me also as you're sharing, so I can put it on the knowledge bank so everyone has access to it as well. But this is great. Would you guys be open to like doing with this group a pitch session to start with? Because all of you are about to pitch. I can schedule something maybe next month and then we can expand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, are all of you in? I'm happy to invite
Yes.
all of you. Okay,
Thank you.
let me do that. Okay, guys, this was an amazing session. Thank you all for your time and everything that you do to support each other.
Thanks for
Thank
facilitating,
you, as
Sudeshna.
usual. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Nice
guys.
to meet you all.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.